When I said I had a chip on my shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that my humility is very important also.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things I've learned
Right.
in the process of growing and becoming semi-successful, because I'm not there yet.
Right.
I'm nowhere close to being where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to always be a student.
Right.
Does that make sense? So I always will empty my cup
Mm-hmm.
so I can be filled. But I have to empty my cup into people
Mm-hmm.
so I can get refilled.
Have you ever felt confused about your present, like feeling like you're all over the place and super anxious about your future, but you have the desire to pursue purpose? Well, my name is Michelle Morris, and I've created a series called Living on Purpose. In this series, I interview different individuals who are doing just that, living on purpose. We talk about their different obstacles that they face, the ups, the downs, and actually what it's like now to actually be pursuing purpose. So I want you guys to come along the journey with me as we talk to these different individuals. We see what it's like to live on purpose. Hey guys, what's up? It's Michelle. Welcome back to another episode of Living on Purpose. Today we have a super special guest. We have here Rich Altema. He is an entrepreneur in the life insurance industry. So we're going to go ahead and interview him today and see what purpose means to him. Hi, Richard.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
So, as I said here, introducing you, you are an entrepreneur in the insurance industry.
Yeah.
So, I just want to go ahead and talk about that. If you can briefly just kind of tell us who you are and what it is exactly that you do.
So, who I am first.
Who are you?
I'm a man of God first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just blessed to be a human being born in this time,
Mm-hmm.
especially what's going on with this, the world today.
Right.
Families from Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Been there half of my life, moved down to South Florida. And who am I? The individual? I'm a leader. I'm a leader, and I believe everybody has a sense of leadership in them. I was able to tap into my potential to become that leader, and I'm always constantly working on becoming a better leader. Yeah,
Okay.
So, yeah.
Alrighty, so we know that you're in the life insurance or the insurance rather industry now, but who was Rich 5 years ago? What was he doing? And was Rich still the same person?
Oh, no. No, absolutely not. 5 years ago, so I did real estate. So I did real estate for about 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
First, I was a loan originator, so I generated loans
Okay.
for clients to be approved and go out and purchase their home.
Okay.
And then I went ahead and got my real estate license, so I knew best of both worlds. So I did the loan side and then the real estate side. I did that for a while. But, when I was working with a lot of people and helping them with their budgets and so forth, and I realized that people didn't understand money.
Mm-hmm.
So even myself, I didn't understand money. I was just
Right.
learning.
Mm-hmm.
So I started hunting and reading books, trying to find out what area to get into. So I thought going into real estate would help at first. I helped a lot of people get into homes, but I taught them how to get into a home, but not how to budget
Right.
and do things properly. So I got into banking, thinking I was going to learn about money. I learned about money laundering, but I didn't learn money. But it was a
Right.
blessing, because at that time, working at the bank, that bank I worked for catered to a lot of Florida Power and Light employees. So
Right.
those people in FP&L, they banked there, and they would get these deposits that were coming in. In 1 week, I saw deposits coming to the account, and it was like 700,000, 1.2 million, and I was like, "What is this?"
What are they doing?
So I was a little nosy, because I was trying to figure out, hey man, maybe I'm in the wrong, I'm in the wrong place.
Right.
And then I clicked on the link, because I had access, and it was insurance, and I was like, insurance. And then I clicked on the next person, insurance. So it seems like people were retiring,
Right.
and they were cashing out their life insurance policies. And I was like, life insurance? So I started YouTubing life insurance, looking and trying to figure it out. And then one day, one of the ministers from my church offered me an opportunity, and come to find out, it was life insurance.
Right.
And so I prayed for something new. I prayed to learn about money and business, and I felt like God was the one who placed me here and put me in a position to learn, to grow, and build something.
Right.
Yeah.
So you say life insurance. Now, life insurance isn't something that's necessarily sexy, right?
Yeah.
At least people don't think.
Yeah.
So, like, when a lot of times when you speak to a kid and you're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? They're like, I want to be a lawyer, a doctor, I want to be an athlete, I want to do all of these things. So I know you said you were doing real estate for some time, but did you always know that you were going to be in the finance industry? So I know we said 5 years, but 10 years, 15 years. What did Rich want to do? What did you think? I know you wanted to make money.
Sure.
But, like, what did that mean?
So I went to school for graphic design and computer animation.
Okay.
So I love art. You know, I was an artist. I went to high school. I went to a school in Fort Lauderdale. It was called Dillard High School. I went there for the art magnet program. I wanted to be a cartoonist, and because I love drawing. So you know, I was that kid that when the teacher was talking, I was just, you know, drawing and doodling on my on my papers, and then but I fell in love with it even when I was a young child, and I grew up, you know, in that world, and I went to college to a school called IFAC, International Fine Art College, and the Art Institute bought out my school, and so I went there. I went to my associate's degree, and from there I dropped out.
Okay.
I believe God was calling me to a higher calling, and so I dropped out of college during that time, and I decided to search and look for myself in God to find out what He wanted from me. So I took a hiatus, and during that time I was just trying to find out who I am. I didn't know who I was. I was just, you know.
Roughly, how old were you?
19.
19. Okay,
Yeah,
that's about right. Because I think like a lot of young people around that like early teen, mid 20s is like you're trying to discover yourself. You're trying to figure out purpose. Why on earth am I here? So that seems about right. Yeah.
That was major for me. Major change, and I actually experienced some things spiritually with God, and I feel like I've been taking the right steps. But, you know, I also had a hard head, so there was things I wanted to do, but God kind of positioned me to, kind of rope me into what He wanted me to do. You know what I mean? Right. So I went from there to from working different types of gigs, just trying to make money. And to me, that's when I got into mortgages.
You got mortgages?
Yeah, so I got into real estate mortgages about 22, 23 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did that for 16 years.
I did it for a long time. I did it for a long time.
So something you mentioned that I kind of wanted to piggyback off of is you said that you were, when I asked you who was Rich, you said, first and foremost, I'm Haitian. So, which means that you have Caribbean parents.
Absolutely.
So you're doing something like real estate, which is more on the entrepreneurial side, and now you're an entrepreneur still in life insurance. So, or in the insurance industry. So was your family, being that you're Caribbean, were they always supportive in this, you know, this crusade of like,
so now
entrepreneurship?
This is when I put my leg down, right? So my mom, so you know the average Haitian or Caribbean family. Now I can only speak for my family, right? I believe they were always supportive of what I wanted to do because, you know, my parents love me. I'm very blessed to have both mother and father together over 37 years of marriage. So they showed me an example in the household, you know. But what I realized is that as I was looking and going through my journey of trying to figure out who I wanted to be, my parents never closed any doors. You know, when I told them I was interested in something, they always, you know, supported my ideas. So, you know, and not a lot of people have that. You know, not a lot of people have that. So I felt like, you know, I had the opportunity to have a support group. There was some decisions I made on my own that took me off path, as you can say.
Do you want to elaborate?
Well, sure. I mean.
You can't say that and then not say what.
Yeah, no, I gotta lay it out. there was a part in time where I got into some trouble, but it was me, and I got arrested for fighting, for disorderly conduct. So during that time, I was treated like as if I were a murderer. So I had a record. I didn't.
So I'm sorry, not to cut you off. So during that time, meaning after you got out of jail.
So prior to me going into jail, I was still doing real estate.
Gotcha.
I was still in the world of real estate, and got into an altercation, which led me to go into be in handcuffs. In the process of being in handcuffs, I went into the Broward County jail cell, and 90% of the men in there were saying, "Oh man, this person made me do this person made me do that," and I'm sitting there like, I'm not this person. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. So I put my house up for bond. They put a lien on my home. I bonded out. Left, went across the street to the supermarket, public supermarket, went to the ATM, called a cab, picked me up, brought me home, bought a plane ticket to New York, and flew out the same night. So it was like one of those situations where I was able to even bond out. You know what I mean?
Like a blessing in itself.
Yeah. So I didn't stay in jail for no more than 48 hours. Yeah.
So would you say, so you talked about how like after that situation you were kind of treated, cause I'm assuming because now you had a record, so no one wanted to hire you.
Yeah.
So do you think that's what forced you into entrepreneurship? Like forced your hand?
100%. Right. So I can literally remember applying for a job. So one of my friends was a manager at an AutoZone, and he was like, "Hey, Rich, let me see if I can hook you up." Right. So I applied, and he was like, "Hey, man, we might be able to get you in here." I was like, "Okay, cool." I applied for the job. I know nothing about Jiffy Lube. Like, I'm like, what is this? Or AutoZone or any of these,
car.
Yeah, I like cars, but I wasn't trying to change nobody's oil. But I had to do what I had to do. So of course I applied, and of course they denied me. They said no, you couldn't get the job. And at that point I was like, what do I do? So I got into selling drugs. So for that, it was so easy because my immediate surroundings were people who used to do drugs, used to do it, and so
it was easy to get.
It was easy to get my hands on, but it's also easy to distribute because that was my circle. So I did that for about 2 years, under the table, just making ends meet. And I made really good money. Like I wasn't even encouraged to finding a job. And then during that time, by the grace of God, His hand was over me because nothing happened to me. I didn't get caught. I didn't. So I was just going right under the radar on everything. And that was one of the moments in my life that I knew, like, wow, I went rock bottom. Because necessarily my parents didn't raise me in that environment. I chose to hang around and associate myself in that environment. And to this day, they're my boys. They're people I love, people who I deal with. But
they just know you're not.
Yeah, I had to separate. It came a point in time I had to separate. And when I met my fiance at the time, now my wife, she said, I don't date drug dealers. And I was like, well, you ain't paying my bills. And she stuck it out with me. And she's like, you're better than this. You're greater than this. And I started saying to myself, you know what, you're right. So I stopped. I went cold turkey. I stopped selling. I stopped running the street. I opened a computer tech company called IT Techs. So I went on YouTube and learned how to repair laptops and computers. And I developed a skill set of fixing computers. So I got a little office space. And I started fixing computers. And my first $20 I made, I gave that right back to God.
That's awesome.
And I gave it to God, and then I gave it like, God, here, this is your money. And it just kind of like exploded.
That's awesome.
And then everybody from the church was like, hey, you fix computers, hey. And then I got jobs to do camera systems, so I learned how to install camera systems and all that.
That's awesome.
And
so it seems like that's great. So it seems like though, in a way, your life was kind of like shaped in a form for you to just do entrepreneurship anyways.
Yeah.
So let's kind of like fast forward. So we know where you come from. We know why you are the way that you are. We know why you hustle so hard. Mm-hmm. So now you're in the life insurance industry, and how we were talking about it's not very sexy. Mm-hmm. And you said that your parents were like, a little bit, but I don't know. Did you have friends that also like encouraged you and also were like wanting to support you, or did you have I guess my question is, did you have more people supporting you than not, or how did that work? And were you ever embarrassed? Because by the way, guys, I'm gonna kind of break, this is a new office that we're in, but you didn't just start off in this new office. Oh, no. So you were working in the bank, to doing insurance. But I'm pretty sure, and there's something that happened in your life that I want to talk about as well, how your salary that you were making from the bank, you made in a month. So, but before we talk about that, though, I want to know, like, what was that like, not necessarily getting the support, and, like, were you embarrassed? Did you ever think to myself, what the heck am I doing? Why am I doing this? No one gets it. It's not working. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say embarrassed. Mm-hmm. I would say I was relentless. Because nobody can make you do anything you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to find out who I was, but also I wanted to find an industry that would allow me to make a lot of money. Right. But also, it wasn't just about money. Mm-hmm. I wanted to also bring value. You know what I mean? So in our community, a lot of the minority groups don't really see life insurance as a asset. They didn't look at it as an asset. But I was wondering, why are life insurance agents making so much money? And so, when I started investigating, they were like, it's boring, it's bland, it's dry. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but they make a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
there has to be some kind of,
I'm like, this is an opportunity for me to make great money to service and help people, right? And my family didn't necessarily say, oh, great job, do life insurance. Like, who wakes up and says, yes, I can't wait to graduate from high school and do life insurance? Like, nobody says that. Like, no one. That's not like a thing, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of found me. Right. I didn't know that I was getting into this industry. I was praying to ask God for a business. And then, like I said, one of the ministers from my church, just offered me the opportunity. Right. And I didn't know what it was. I was like, what are you doing? What are you selling? Like tea or juice or something? Like, And she was like, no, I'm a life insurance agent. Right. And I was like, so I started doing research. You have Google, you can research life insurance, and then I started reading, and I was like, this might be the wave. Like, I might need to hop on this. And I took the risk,
So it seems like to me, like what I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your goal or the vision that you saw of what could be outweighed the opinions of other people's.
100%.
Because I know for a lot of people, and the reason why I'm really getting down on this question is because I know a lot of people, myself included, that sometimes the opinions of others, like naysayers, can really affect someone to the point where they'll stop. Mm-hmm. They'll literally be like embarrassed or like not even want to talk about it. Sure. But like, I just remember just from knowing you, like you were never shy about what you did. I mean, whether you cared or, it was just like, so like, how did you get that like stronghold mindset of just like, no, like I'm focused on the goal, and like, even when you necessarily maybe weren't making any money, you quit your job at a bank to become an entrepreneur, which is not easy. People think entrepreneurship is easy, and it's not, because you can be a broke entrepreneur. Sure. So like, like how did you just keep going? Like, despite people being like, you ain't making no money, to like now where you are. So
you asked a really great question.
Well, that's what I do.
real talk. It was pure fire that was burning in me to be someone.
Right.
And prove a point.
To who?
Myself.
Okay.
Because people did reject me. People did say, that thing doesn't work.
Right.
My family rejected me. And I was like, it has to work. Because if these people that look like me are out here winning and making hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars, why doesn't it work?
Right.
Is it because insurance just doesn't work, or is it the person, the individual that doesn't work? Right?
Say that again.
So, like, is it insurance that doesn't work, or the individual who doesn't work? Like,
and you know what, with even saying that, I think that can be taken in so many different places, and just in life. It's like sometimes you have to work it, and just because it doesn't work the first few times doesn't mean that you stop. You just have to work. But continue. You think about how the light bulb was created. You have these beautiful ambience in here, right? But that light was created by somebody who tested it over 1,000 times, right? 10,000 times. And 9,999 times, and then that 10,000 time, it clicked. Right. What was my boy Thomas? Right, Edison, and your boy.
Yeah, that's my boy. Because you know what, he allowed us to have this, right? This creation. So I look at it and I say, how do you want to be great? What like when I die? I want people, when they come and visit me at my grave, I want them to say, this was a great man.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't want nobody pissing on my grave. Like, no, like, what was I able to do? Like, being able to make an impact in somebody's life, to take them from ground zero and to lift them up, to help them, right? But if I'm giving you 100% of myself, I would expect that person to at least meet me halfway.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so sometimes we need that person to help pull you up and to push you, because necessarily I didn't have that. Right? I was just determined because I had a chip on my shoulder. Right? I was never the tallest guy. I had hoop dreams. I wanted to be like Jordan, you know, like, yeah, right, you're 5'7", Rich, get over it. You know what I'm saying? It's not happening, right? So it was like, hoop dreams dead, right? So what do you do? Like, so I dipped and dabbed in so many different areas because I was looking for something. Right. And it's just how God aligned it for me in the way that my life was going. The opportunity came, and so many other opportunities out there. Like, you can make millions of dollars in anything. Right. It's based on how much effort you put into it, and if you don't give up on your dream. Right. Think about this. When we were kids, when you're like 5 years old, most kids wanted to be what? A firefighter, a police officer, right? This like superhero, this type of, right? But then what happens as you get older, right? Your parents tell you to go to school, graduate, and go to college and get a good job after you graduate.
Or go into a career that makes money.
Whatever
that means.
Right? So I'm saying to myself, now, once I graduate, I have a 4-year degree. I have a 4-year degree. Now, that 4-year degree, how much money can that one degree bring me? And I started saying to myself, wait a second, if I'm working with this company, I'm capped, right? Because if they say, hey, Richard, we're willing to pay you $20 an hour, $30 an hour, and I signed that application and I agreed to it, that lets me know that that's how much I believe I'm worth. So I had to rethink it and say, Richard, how much are you really worth? Are you worth $18 an hour? Are you worth $20? How much are you worth? And I was like, I'm priceless. But what does that entail? What does priceless entail? It means going 100% for yourself 100% of the time. Right. Like, nobody is going to pay you working for somebody more than the CEO.
That's true.
It's not going to happen. So I had to become my own boss, right? So I fired my boss. I said, I'm out, you know? And
I think that a lot of people, because even with myself, I think this is all that you're saying is great and it is true, but I think that like kind of what you're saying though is how hard you are going to work. Because I think the misconception, like I said, with entrepreneurship, and like I said, I've made the mistake myself, is thinking that you can fire your boss and become your own boss, but not realize how much work your boss was actually putting in, and that you need to put in that work. So I think, yes, like it's being wise in making that decision, but also realizing if you know that you're worth more. And that's like such a great scenario, what you said about the like, because you could be making $100 an hour, which is great, you know what I'm saying, depending on the career, but $100 an hour is also not enough. You know, so it just depends on the person.
It depends on your lifestyle that you want to live, right? And I have nothing wrong with a 9 to 5. I respect, I encourage people to get work, but you're supposed to work to build, save, so that you can build your dream, right? Use that money that you're making and invest it in yourself, like books. Read. Understand that if you're reading books, you will have a plethora of information that has been laid out for you from millionaires that's already done it before. But the issue is, there was an old saying, if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. Right? There was an old saying, and I used to be like, oh, snap. Not until I started reading and realizing that this is how your human brain is, right? This is my human brain.
Right here.
When I read books, this is just my one opinion, my one option that I have. But when you read books, it gives you one option, 2 options, 3 options, 4. So now me reading books give me multiple options because I was processing one way, but because now I'm reading multiple books, I have other ways to process. So who are you talking to? Who's your immediate surroundings of people you're talking to on a daily basis? Because if you make $40,000 and you make more money than your circle, then you need a new circle. My associations, they couldn't think big. They thought small. And it's not that I don't love them. It's not that we don't. It's just that my mindset wasn't where their mindset was. And I realized that because, think about this. A lot of people in the minority groups grew up in poverty mindset. Not saying that you're living paycheck to paycheck, but most of us were living paycheck to paycheck. What's one of the things that were implanted in us? They would say, hey, don't turn off the lights when you walk out. Don't keep the lights on, you're wasting the electricity, right? Hey, the AC's too low, turn it up. Or, hey, you better eat everything on that plate. That's coming from a place of scarcity. Why? Because guess what? That's what their parents told them. And that's where, and it starts to pass on to a generation. So you'll start saying poverty mindset language and not even know it was embedded in you, it was engraved in you from your parents, from their parents. So you had to learn to, where do I cut that poverty mindset line at? Where do I stop enticing and embellishing those words of poverty and use different words to, because life and death are what? In the power of the tongue, right? So my tongue is what activates people to start wars, right? Wars just don't start from nothing. Somebody said something. Somebody said, press that red button. And they press the red button. And then we're at war, right? But if words aren't being exchanged, then guess what? We can be sitting right here, right now. How productive would this interview be by you asking me questions and me sitting here looking at the camera, not saying anything?
It'd probably be like 5 seconds.
It would be like,
I would get up.
You'd be like, what are you doing here? No, we have to.
But we're going to go ahead and pivot from this topic.
Absolutely.
Everything you're saying is so great and it's so important. And I think that even for myself, later on in life, I had to realize how, I'm saying later on in life, but as I got older, I realized how important it is to read because it's so true and it's so much information. But I wanted to go ahead and pivot because we spoke about the your income, right? We spoke about like you making what you made in a year working at the bank to making it in a month and now in your entrepreneur business. However, I know you can start there. You can start making 5-figure, monthly income. So, like, what was that snap for you? What was that click in your brain? You were like, oh, like, this could work. Like, what was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's trillions of dollars out here. You know what I mean? Like, people want to give you their money. They just don't know what you do. Right? So, if I don't know what you do, then how can I help you market? How can I help you make that money? You know what I'm saying? So when when we crossed what I did that month, it was like $47,000 I did in that month. And then the following month, it was like 24,000, 15,000. And so when you start hitting those type of numbers, it becomes normal.
Right.
It was normal, but it was abnormal. Let me explain. It's just like we're in the age of coronavirus. Imagine you walking to a Walmart without your mask on. People are looking at you like you're crazy.
Right.
Right? So the normal became the abnormal.
The
right?
new normal.
The new normal, right? So now you're walking around here and, oh my God, like, my mask. Right? So it was the same feeling when 10,000 hits your account, 20,000 hits your account, 40, almost 50,000 hits your account. You're like, oh, I'm supposed to make this. You know?
Right.
So what happens is my money blueprint increased, my identity increased. But the higher your identity, the more money you'll make. But guess what? The higher your identity, the more work you have to do.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So there is no $40,000 without going to work. There is no even $10,000. It's just not possible.
Yep.
So for those people who are wondering, how do you make this type of money? How do you make a six-figure income? That's because you have to work like a person that makes six figures. Now, if you're working a 9-to-5 job for an employer and they're paying you and you make a six-figure income, that's because they value you at this particular dollar amount, right? So let's say you make $120,000. For some people, that's good money, right? But for me, that's not even paying majority of my bills. I need to make $250,000. I need to make $250,000 just to feel like, okay, now I can eat.
Right.
Now I can eat some food. Like I can go to a restaurant and buy a nice steak, right? So I'm not looking at $250,000. I'm looking at $500,000, $750,000, $1 million. So, but where is my identity right now in my lifetime? So I might have the vision to see to that point, but I have to put in the work. What does that require? It requires me losing weight, right? Eating healthy, because the more work you put in, your body's taking a beating. So you have to have the stamina. You have to have the so. All of those things are important, right? And then spiritually, right? How are you with your mindset, right? So it's a physical, it's a spiritual, it's mental, all of those things.
Okay.
So the money, you can make $100,000 a month, you can make $1 million a month. It's based on your efforts, and not only your efforts, but your belief factor.
Right.
Like, do you believe you can? And once you believe it,
that's real.
How can you prove it?
That's like the biggest thing. I think a lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome. So that's so real that you said, like, do you believe that you can do it? But you're saying you work. Now we're here. You just got this beautiful new office.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Like,
have you breathed? Like, have you taken it all in? Like, I'm in this new office, or are you gonna do what your shirt say? Hustle. Like every day.
Hustle. Like the office is a new beginning to a bigger office. So this is, my first office that I can say that as a broker, I was able to save enough and build a business that pays me. And because it pays me, I have to respect my business, right?
What does that mean, respect your business?
So there's principles and values, right? You have to follow those principles and values, right? The principle of what goes up must come down, that's real. Like, I don't care who you are, unless you're Christ. You can jump out of a plane and you're going down. I guarantee you are going down, right? So you got to respect the laws, right? There's laws out here that were placed for you to be able to be in alignment and have a form of balance. Once you separate from those laws, then you're at risk.
Right.
The second you put yourself at risk, now anything that comes, you have to be ready for it, right? You have to say, hey, listen, whatever comes with me. Let's say if I have an argument with my wife, right? And I come home, I'm feeling good right now, and I just come home and just start arguing with her, then you better be prepared.
But what's she going to do?
Because she might look at me and say, what? is going like.
Well, your wife, yes.
Yeah, like it's not happening. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So you gotta know that belief, this thing right here, this thing, the thing between your ears, my God, it's so important for you to. It's precious. It's precious.
So then that takes me to this for you though. So what advice would you give a young person, the 19-year-old Rich, who was trying to find his identity? What advice would you give that 19-year-old Rich who maybe is like you, creative? He doesn't necessarily want to do the traditional route, but he has to get a job right now, but he's trying to find himself. He's trying to become a young man, even a young woman, whichever. What advice would you give that young person?
Don't give up. It's so easy to give up. It's so easy to give up, right? I mean, people are going to say things. People are going to reject you. People are going to lie, steal, backstab you. All those things come with life in general. It doesn't matter if you're a very good person. Very good people get screwed. Right? Very bad people get screwed. People just get screwed. That's the life we live in. Now, you got to be able to accept it. So once you are able to accept that, now you got to get past it. Because when it comes, how do you deal with it? Are you like, oh, it's me? And you go into a pity party and now you're a victim. Don't fall into the victim mentality.
Right.
Don't. The victim mentality will keep you in chains. And it won't allow you to grow because that's what it was designed to do, to hold you down. It was designed to hold you down. So for the young people out there, I would encourage them to surround themselves with people who are winning, right? But it doesn't have to be in a negative path. It can be in a path that's good, where that it won't lead them up in jail. It won't lead them into a place where they're making life risky chances. They don't have to do that, right? There's plenty of options and opportunities out here for young people.
No, that's especially in 2020. There's so many opportunities. But question for you: do you ever feel the urge to, for lack of the vocabulary, say "nan and boo boo" to the people who thought you couldn't, and now you're just like, well, look at me. Do you ever feel the urge?
You know what's funny? Not to sit here and say, I've never thought about it.
Okay, that's real. Right? I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
But okay.
Because I would be BSing you if I never... when I said I had a chip on my shoulder, I did. But I realized that my... humility is very important also. So there's a lot of things I've learned in the process of growing and becoming semi-successful, because I'm not there yet. I'm nowhere close to being where I want to be. So I have to always be a student. Does that make sense? So I always will empty my cup so I can be filled. But I have to empty my cup into people so I can get refilled. So that's why I socialize with people. That's why I talk. That's why I speak. That's why I do what I do, because I'm learning and I want to share it with other people. So that I can go to the person. My associations are people who make nothing less than $250,000 a year to millions of dollars. So those are my immediate associations. So we speak different language, right? Driving a Lamborghini or Ferrari is normal in those people's. I don't have that yet, but I aspire to be one of those because I like to drive nice cars, right? I do. I have a nice car now,
you do have a nice
right?
car.
But I want a Porsche 911 GT2 RS. I know what I want, right? I know the color. I know the wheel size. I know the. So you have to know, right? But if you don't have a vision, you don't know where you're going.
So this is a great segue. Where do you see Rich in 5 years? I mean, obviously we can't control, but if you could, where's Rich in 5 years?
My vision is very simple.
What is that?
It's very clear because now that I'm in this new office, I'm going to post my vision everywhere.
Okay.
So that when people walk into this place, they'll see where I'm going. Where I'm going in 5 years, of course, multimillionaire, done, check, done. 2, I need multiple offices nationally, right? When I say nationally, is because our company is growing.
Right.
And because it's growing, people are more aware of life insurance, right? With COVID, life insurance has taken off.
Right.
So people aren't even aware that this industry, whether they like it or not, they're making more money and more money. And now everything is virtual. So the traditional agent had to sit in front of somebody face to face like this. But due to COVID, people don't want to sit in front of you, right? People, no, don't come in my house. Don't sit down. So what do? Thank you, Zoom, right? Thank you. Because now we have different platforms that allow you to do video calls, video chats, and I can talk to people from California to New York to North Carolina, and my business can function from this technology. Right? When technology has come into our communities, what happens is that there's a layoff. 54 million people have filed unemployment this year. 54 million people. They're waiting for a stimulus check, right? They're waiting to get paid, right? Some people are getting paid more from their package from this unemployment than they are at their 9 to 5. And what happens is it causes them to become lazy. So now they're not looking for work anymore. They're getting this check, right? So if you don't put yourself in a position to know how to generate income, that check is going to dry out. Now you became so dependent. What are you going to do? Right? So for everybody who's looking to say, man, what industry should I get into? I'm not saying that you need to get into this one, but find something that's going to generate you an income that's lucrative. Women's hair will never go out of style.
Or out of business.
Right? In New York, you can have a beauty supply store next door to each other. You can have, they're all going to be packed, right? The Asian people, they have, and Korean, whoever, they have nail shops. One after the other. Everybody's getting their nails done. So there's going to be businesses that's always going to flourish. What's guaranteed in life? People are born, people die. And they need people who look like me, people who look like the people who are listening, the audience here, like you, to open your mouth and say, hey, here's an opportunity. Let's learn about insurances. Let's learn about how we can create generational wealth and pass inheritance to your children's children's children. There's secrets in this business, but guess what? If we don't expose our community to it, then they're going to be sheltered and locked in, and they're going to have a negative connotation about this industry.
So, no, that's great. So we said multimillionaire.
Oh yeah, I can go on a tangent.
I
can go on a tangent. Yeah.
No, everything you're saying is so good. That's the thing. It's so good, and everything is so necessary. And I'm sure, even if it is not the question, whatever, I'm sure they'll be able to take whatever they needed. You know what I'm saying? And it might have been for who needed it. But how I like to go ahead and wrap up this interview, because we said that you multimillionaire, you're going to have multiple offices around the country.
That's correct.
Done. So now, how I like to go ahead and end off this interview with every single guest is, what does living on purpose mean to you?
Living on purpose means I'm getting up with a plan and knowing what I'm doing the next day, right? Purposely. Before I hit the sack tonight, I already know what my schedule is for the week, right? So because I know what my schedule is I'm planning out my days. Right? Now, if something happens, like if life happens, things happen, then I learn to pivot around those things, right? But it's not going to take me off course of what I need to accomplish, right? This interview may or may not have happened, but guess what? I didn't care that these people are still putting my office together. I'm like, let's do it, right? I'm not going to allow these little things to interfere with what God's plan is for us to do this right here and to put the word out, right? So I make it very simple. If I wanted to defeat myself, I can be my self-worst enemy. But
like so many of us.
I'm intentional. So awesome. Make sure you live a life of intention and be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable when you say something, you hold to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we go ahead and wrap up, if the people wanted to get in contact with you, reach out to you, where could they find you?
Let's go to my Instagram. It's as simple as Richard Altema.
Right.
You just go to Instagram and type in RICHARDALTEMA. Done.
Perfect. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Living on Purpose with the amazing guest, Rich. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys in the next episode here on Living on Purpose. Bye, guys.
Peace.
Did you like this interview? Tell me what you liked about it in the comment section below. And while you're down there, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell button so you get more notifications for the next Living on Purpose interview. And don't forget to share this video with someone that you like, love, or you just want to see this video. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Living on Purpose. Bye, guys.